including those of thousands of students from various universities in the country. NPC Commissioner Raymond Liboro said his agency is already looking into it, as he said he immediately coordinated with Facebook Philippines for an investigation. Liboro said that it's the first time he encountered such extent of creating imposter Facebook accounts or fake Facebook accounts. But right now, he said they do not have any leads on the motive behind the act. The University of the Philippines and the De La Salle University are among the schools who have released statements on the phenomenon. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara, meanwhile, also said that he also directed the DOJ Cybercrime Office to coordinate with the National Bureau of Investigation and the Philippine National Police to conduct their own investigations. Next, Senator Panfilo Lacson hit what he said were attempts at disinformation on the Anti-Terrorism Bill. The senator stressed that the bill has enough safeguards against abuses and has more tools to use against extremists. Lacson explains that the bill's provisions remain protective of human rights as enshrined in the Constitution and less draconian compared with those of other countries in the region. Lacson, an author and sponsor of the bill, also said that they followed the Bill of Rights and that they also have defined terrorism clearly. After the public uproar, the Justice Department is currently reviewing the bill, while some lawmakers from the lower house have withdrawn their yes votes to the proposed measures. Malacanang yesterday stood firm on its decision to continue banning certain modes of public transportation as a precautionary measure against COVID-19. This even after a poll showed that majority of Filipino families view this rule as burdensome. A mobile phone survey conducted by the Social Weather Station, or SWS, found that 77% of the respondents said that suspension of public transport was a burden to their families. But presidential spokesman Harry Roque says easing the restrictions on public transport will defeat the purpose of the quarantine, especially since a vaccine against COVID-19 has still to be developed. According to the industry officials, another hefty fuel price hike will greet motorists this week, while power rates will likely go down. A source told the Philippine Star that diesel would be higher by at least 85 centavos, while gasoline would increase by at least 1 peso 45 centavos per liter. In an advisory, UniOil Philippines said its diesel price would increase by at least 1 peso 10 centavos per liter and gas by no less than 1 peso 70 centavos. Meanwhile, Meralco said electricity rates in June are expected to go down as it continues to invoke claims of force majeure. We will find out how much as the company is set to announce the electricity rates for June today. Okay, those are essentially the news on the front page of the Philippine Star. And if my audio sounds muffled, please forgive me. I think I've come down with a cold. But colds and whatever will not stop us from doing the work that we are entrusted with, and that is to deliver the news and bring to you the experts, the best resource persons available on certain topics. Now, about 2 weeks ago, Senator Ralph Recto came out with a press statement essentially calling out the government communications concerning the protocols for just about everything. And he essentially said, you are confusing people under quarantine. Get your get your act together and get things straight. So let's find out exactly what triggered these comments, and of course, let's call on Senator Ralph Recto to help us understand what we are looking at in terms of economics, the economy, and what's on the papers today. Definite recession. There we go. A very relaxed Senator Ralph Recto. I guess this is your first day of vacation, although I've ruined it for you by calling you this early. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tito. Thank you for having me.
Okay, first up, could you clarify what triggered? I mean, a lot of people are in agreement with you that the government or the IATF in particular has gotten a bit confusing in the last 2 weeks. They've been called Indian givers, urong sulong, una sa salita, kulang sa gawa, etc. But on your part, what triggered that press statement where you called them out for their confusing statements?
All of the above, Tito, including until today. For transport alone, every day they have a new set of rules. Right?
Okay.
We have coding, no coding, modified coding, so on and so forth. So it's very confusing. And a lot of people, a lot of our constituents complain to us. And that's why we're calling them out.
Okay, now what would you suggest? Because it's one thing to call out people, and I have to confess I'm often guilty of that. I call out people or institutions, but it also would be helpful if we come up with suggestions. Now, what would be your suggestions as far as communications and policies are concerned?
Well, first and foremost, planning is the most important issue. No? So get their act together. Study the problem carefully, think of a solution, and once you have that solution, communicate it properly. I look at it as simple as that, no? But it's hard to keep on testing ideas because people are very much affected by that.
Okay, so it's to you, it would seem as if your impression is they're trying the waters out, testing ideas, and it is something that has to be thoroughly thought out before they even talk about it. Okay. Now, it's all right. That is the new normal where we work from home. Your dog obviously wants your attention. In any case, let's go to as far, because I've been talking to other governors, and I know you helped Congresswoman Vilma Santos Recto when she was governor of Batangas. And you have a grasp of these things. I was speaking with Governor Art Yap, your former colleague in Congress,
Yes.
and he was saying, give us some flexibility, give us leeway in making decisions. And I wrote in my column today in the Philippine Star, let governors govern. What is your position if I asked you, shouldn't we devolve the IATF and bring it to the regional or to the provincial level already? Since the government has done a good job, but isn't it about time that we devolve the IATF?
I think to a certain degree, every local government unit has their own IATF. In fact, to others, there would be more confusion right now because you have IATF nationally and IATF locally.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are very different, no? So, for example, airline industry, that's an issue today as well, no?
Yes.
If they were to fly from Manila, let's say, to Bacolod, there would be different rules there, or OFWs coming in, right?
Yes.
So, I think what's more important is that the local governments are represented thoroughly in the IATF in Manila, so that their ideas and concerns could be addressed as well. So there should be better consultation, because at the end of the day, it's the local governments who implement down there, and they're the ones elected. So I agree that the local officials should be allowed to govern. Nevertheless, there needs to be one response to this pandemic. These are not ordinary times, yes.
Yeah, you're correct, because obviously, like aviation should be under the national government. But what's
Correct.
happening is the national government, directly or indirectly, has left the negotiation and coordination of airlines to individual LGUs, instead of the national government making a pronouncement saying, okay, boys and girls, this is the rule.
Correct. And I support that. I support a national policy on that,
Mhm.
on the aviation industry. But get the local governments consulted as well.
Mhm.
Consult with them so that they know what to expect, so that they don't have other rules in their localities.
Mhm. Okay,
Be
now
consistent with the national policy, yes.
okay, now going back to provinces, I'm sure you're aware of the Balik Probinsya program that has been launched or relaunched, depending on who you talk to. And some people have said that was a good start, but the better idea would be Invest Probinsya. You are one of the economists in the Senate. Do you think that this should be prioritized? Is this a program that would help us bounce back?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's really about providing opportunities, no? And
Mhm.
ensuring that there are public services in the province. The reason why people go to Metro Manila or to the urban centers is because of the lack of opportunities in the province and greater opportunities in the metropolis, no?
Mhm.
Not to mention access to education, to healthcare, so on and so forth, government services. So, if we were to provide those opportunities and government services in the provinces, then there's no reason for people in the provinces to want to go to Metro Manila.
Yeah, but what about that? Because I mean, I think Secretary Artogade must be giggling nowadays, saying, "Oh, kita nyo, sinabi ko na sa inyo eh." Remember when he said we should relocate all government offices outside Metro Manila, bring them to Clark, and I think even Finance Secretary Sunny Dominguez said we should relocate all of these government offices to force the exodus out of Metro Manila, because Metro Manila is dead in terms of traffic, dead in terms of pollution and congestion.
That's maybe one of the solutions, but I would invest more in the provinces, not necessarily just taking out government centers.
Mhm.
There is a cost to that also, and maybe the same amount of money I can utilize, for example, of providing better health services, better education in the
Mhm.
provinces, creating more infrastructure that will create more jobs in the provinces as well. So there are many
Okay.
ways of doing it, Sito.
You have experience in the province of Batangas.
Yes.
Now, do governors and mayors have enough under the local government code? Do they have enough authority, legal authority, to incentivize the migration of businesses to the provinces, and to give incentives to companies who want to relocate? Because I think that has always been the issue. Can provinces make it attractive enough for companies to pull out of Metro Manila and go out?
You know, Batangas is a net migration. There are
Hmm.
more people coming to Batangas than going out. Why? Because we have job opportunities in the province.
Yeah,
We have lots of special economic zones, no?
yeah.
So on and so forth. No? A better infrastructure, for example. No? Diversified economy. Yes. So the answer to your question is yes. It would be dependent on the local chief executive, what he what vision he has for his province and how he implements that, no? To attain that vision. No?
Hmm.
But it will greatly help if the local governments had more resources coming from the national government, either
Mm.
by taxing authority or by additional internal revenue allotments. There are many powers given to the local government without the resources. In fact, there are many laws that Congress passes year in and year out mandating local governments to accomplish certain tasks without the resources.
Hmm.
And I've always called out my colleagues on bills of this nature. No, there is a Supreme Court decision that mandates by 2022, if I'm not mistaken, or 2021, the calculations for ERA will be higher, and that it will provide local governments with more resources. No, it would
Yeah.
include now collections of the Bureau of Customs in calculating ERA for local government units. So that would increase resources.
Okay, what about this proposition that companies should not be allowed to operate in provinces but pay their taxes in Makati or Tigas or Manila? Because the local government officials say that we're being robbed. You use our people, you use our resources, you attract business customers into our area, but yet all the taxes are paid in like Makati. Makati is just
Head
like
office.
yeah, the head office is in Makati. What do you say about that, Senator Recto?
Correct. And that's why you have the internal revenue allotment. That's why you have a formula. Okay.
But there
Of
is
course,
no law. There is no law
it is in the
requiring
tax code. It is in the tax
now.
code.
Okay,
Yes, correct.
that they
Okay.
must pay in the province.
That they must pay in the head office. Okay. The
Yeah,
reason
but
for that,
that's
yes,
yeah, but that's the issue, Senator. All
correct,
the head
correct,
offices are in Makati, and
correct.
so the provinces aren't getting their fair share.
That is correct. And that's why you have the internal revenue allotment. Okay. So the collections of the national government, in effect, a certain percentage of that, 40% of all collections 3 years preceding is equitably, there's a formula given out to the provinces, cities, municipalities, and the barangay. And the reason why you have that in the tax code, Sito, is to make it easy for business. For example, if I'm located in 70 provinces, then I would have 70 tax payments.
Yes.
It would be difficult to do as well.
Okay.
And that's why you have the ERA. Now, should we amend the ERA to improve resources at the local level? I'm all in favor of that. I
Okay,
think
so
the law on the ERA allocation is already outdated.
yeah.
That was done in the early 90s. I think it needs improvement now.
Okay, so we can look forward to that because a lot of local government officials have raised that with us. Now, as far as the economy is concerned, what's your reaction to this forecast that we are definitely going into a recession? There is going to be a 30% loss in remittances from OFWs, and that there is an unemployment rate of 17%. Although for that last point, BSP Governor Ben Jokno already threw in a colatilla saying, that's a conditional unemployment because of quarantine. What's your reaction to all of this bad news?
I think we have to prepare for the worst, Ito. No? It's very possible that you would have a large contraction all the way up to the end of the year. And those unemployment figures may even go up. We've had extensive hearings in the Senate regarding these issues. No? And you could even see unemployment hit, or yes, 10 million. Contraction of the economy could be as high as 10%. I mean, let me ask you, Sito, your consumption last year, third, fourth quarter, will you be spending the same this year for the third and fourth quarter? Or will you reduce your expenses by 10%? If everyone were to think that way, then there would be a 10% reduction in consumption. Now, what can government do? There are numerous bills filed in the House and in the Senate, similar to what other countries are doing. I think we let us use our credit rating today while interest rates are low so that we can borrow money and improve our healthcare facilities, number one, provide relief for those people who will lose their job, try to keep people in work by providing for wage subsidies, example, no? And provide unemployment insurance as well, some relief, unemployment program too, like the New Deal, and provide loans to businesses. So
Okay. Yeah,
all
go
of
ahead.
those above will help ensure that the economy do not contract as much. And thereby, it will be easier for us to recover once there is a vaccine or a cure for coronavirus.
Okay, now what about bailouts for big industries, because right now that's a discussion that's starting to pick momentum in the United States and in Europe, that it should be a sink or swim policy, because government stimulus or assistance should be given to citizens and not major corporations who should have been responsible financially and not cry out to government now to bail them out. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, remember what I said earlier, no? Providing relief, saving jobs, creating jobs. So that's all for the people, no? To begin with.
Okay.
No? So
Yeah.
one, two. There are certain industries that are strategic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, for example, banks. That's a very important industry. So you need to provide liquidity to banks, right?
Could you explain that? You know me, I'm very transparent. I'm puzzled by that, because when I read the papers, they say they have so much liquidity that they had to go to the BSP. And then on the other page, it goes, we need bailout. And I'm like, ano ba talaga? Can you explain that?
I'm not saying that you need to bail out the banks now. I think the banks are okay so far.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot of pressure on them. If people lose their jobs, and those with jobs would have no bonuses, will take a pay cut, for example, then all their consumer loans, they would not be able to pay the banks. And if there are big businesses or MSMEs whose revenues are dropping, who can't make ends meet, for example, then they won't be able to pay their loans in the banks. And you and I are depositors, then we're all affected, right? That's how important the banks are in our economy today. So what I'm saying is that banks are strategic, okay? Remember, it's flow of money. It goes through the banks, no? So the PSP has done a lot in terms of monetary policy to ensure that there's liquidity in the system, that credit does not dry up for businesses to operate, no? As well, no? So that's one. What could be another industry? Airlines. Do you
Okay.
consider the airline industry as strategic for logistics, for travel, for OFWs going home, so on and so forth? So I think the airline industry, many of them will need more liquidity, more loans. Can government provide some assistance by giving low interest rate loans to MSMEs, not only to the large industries? I think government can. We can pay for the difference in interest rates.
Okay. Well, you mentioned
Through
earlier.
fiscal policy, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Please.
you mentioned earlier that employees taking pay cuts. We've heard in the past. I mean, history has shown us that in times of such major crisis, global crisis like world wars, etc., there have been nations where their citizens. I mean, Korea, for instance, the Korean citizens actually lined up to give their jewelry to support the government, to support their leaders, etc. Now you mentioned the word pay cut. I remember Cebu Pacific, their executives took a pay cut so that more employees could keep their jobs. Now, is
That's
this
correct.
going to be part of our survival tactic for at least 2020?
I think many companies will not want to lay off people, but many will probably lay off. And for those who are not laid off, possibly they will not get their bonuses this year. Possibly they will get a pay cut. I mean, everyone will need to survive. So a lot of businesses, for example, restaurants, okay,
Yeah.
they are very much affected. Hotels are very much affected. The tourism industry, 12% of the economy is tourism. More than 5 million jobs are in the tourism industry. Many of them will lose their jobs. To the others who will not lose their jobs, they won't get their bonuses. They're going to receive a pay cut of some sort. The waiter who gets a tip, okay, will probably not get as much tips this year. So that's like a pay cut.
Yeah. So where
You will
are
have less
you?
income, yes.
So where are you in this issue of opening the economy? Because clearly, and I understand the government's strategy they're not letting out all of those buses, transportation, etc., because they simply don't want people dying on them. But where are you in terms of how we should reopen the economy, or should we just simply grin and bear it?
Okay. So first of all, let me say this, Tito. No?
Okay.
How many percent of the economy do we want to be open, let's say, by the end of the year? Assuming only 80%. That means roughly that's a 20% contraction. So many people will lose their jobs. Okay, now, having said that, Sito, if the IATF said, okay, we're opening up the economy already today, we will allow only 50% of workers to go to the offices, for example, for social distancing, then the corresponding public transport of roughly 50% for those who should be able to go to work should be provided. Okay? So apparently, they don't match. Okay? So for example, if we can only open up 25% of public transport, let's say for 2 weeks, okay, as a start,
Yeah.
then we tell businesses, okay, we can only open up 25%. Okay? It's very difficult for the workers to get to work.
Yeah.
Today, di ba? Kawawa yung tao. No? So, dapat may planning ng husto. How many percent of the economies do we want to open up? And where are they?
You know, I'm wondering about that, Senator Recto, because yes, we are the biggest concentration of population in Metro Manila, but is 80% of our economy in Metro Manila? I was just wondering,
No.
isn't it mostly
roughly
outside?
In Metro Manila, if I'm not mistaken, roughly 30%. The entire Luzon is 70%.
So the IATF should be more focused on opening the economies outside of Metro Manila, so that
for those that have very low or none at all COVID viruses, then you can open the economy 100%.
Yeah, because that's, I mean, speaking to you, and it's only after talking to you this morning, I realize we're making policies that are so Metro Manila centric, forgetting that, hey, wait a minute, the Metro Manila is not the world and it's not the Philippines, so we should give more focus opening the economies and businesses.
Tailor-fit.
Yeah,
that's correct. It should be tailor-fitted. Same thing with education. If there is no COVID in a particular town or in a particular province, why can't we allow children to go back to school in those areas?
Yeah,
but
the argument there, Senator, is para raw ipin ng tao, magkakabungi-bungi. It will be broken. It will be a broken, fragmented type of education program for 2020.
But that's going to be the case. We're going to have to adapt to the new normal or new abnormal, so to speak, right? So you still have to, if in a particular town, there are no viruses reported there. So why can't we open up the economy there 100%? Or for example, education. Okay, let's do social distancing. But then allow children to go back to school.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier that because we have good credit standing, we should take advantage of it and borrow more money and basically support businesses, support employees, and support the infrastructures that need to be supported. Now, are you not afraid
Let's have our own New Deal?
Okay, but you know, aren't you afraid that we might end up and I'm you know me, I'm apolitical, but we might end up, you know, like 1986, where we were up to our necks in loans, where inflation was so bad and our exchange rate.
It depends on how we spend it, no? So for as long as the economy grows faster than the debt, then your ability to pay is stronger. Right?
Okay.
So it's parang negosyante yan. Yung negosyante uutang yan to make a profit and pay his loans as well. Diba? So that's how government should look at it too. Make the right investments. For as long as the economy grows faster than the debt, then that's okay. So throughout the years, the economy has been growing faster than the debt, and that's why our debt to GDP ratios have been going down, and that's why we're in a better position today. You have a good credit rating. Kailan mo gagamitin yung good credit rating? Now that there is an emergency, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So, and
Okay.
remember, mind you, everyone in the world has a big hole to fill anyway. Everyone will be doing the same thing. At the end of this, we will not be looking that bad as well because everyone will be increasing their debt. Everyone will be spending more in the economy, so that the economy doesn't free fall,
Mhm.
which would be worst. It's
Okay.
hard, when businesses close and people
Yeah.
lose their jobs, it's harder for them to open up and to rehire.
Mhm. Yeah, speaking of that, speaking of layoffs, job losses, etc., you already confirmed what many have said. We can expect a lot of layoffs, a lot of unemployment, a lot of people being let go. Has your associates in the Senate considered or talked about passing a law that would protect employers nowadays? Because there are many employers. I've had a number of people come to me and ask me, Kuyang, what can we do? Because we love our employees, but we have to let 50% of our employees go. And we don't want to end up in court. We don't want to end up with labor issues, etc. Are you planning to, or have you considered passing a law that would protect employers because of this unexpected turn of
Yes,
events?
yeah, we filed several bills in the Senate. No,
Mm-hmm.
there are many proposals in the Senate right now, also in the House for a stimulus. No, now
Mm-hmm.
incorporated in those stimulus are lower taxes, for example, for the meantime, making it easier for businesses to comply, taking away some of those regulations, too much compliance,
Mm-hmm.
making it essentially making it easier for business, including to borrow money, at
What,
very
what
low
about
interest rates.
what about to fire people or to lay off people? Because that has been the
That's also
talking
being
point.
discussed.
Yeah.
That's also being discussed, including, for example, uh, uh, liberalizing labor in the meantime, such
Mm-hmm.
as, okay, instead of firing 50%, one guy works 15 days, the other guy works 15 days. So that way, you don't fire half your employees.
Mm-hmm.
So flexibility. So that's also being discussed, Sito.
Okay, what about I'll give you a very real example. I spoke with someone and he told me we had a project in Soler, the Soler grounds, and mind you, I got really good reports. Soler, apparently, if you're going to do a project in their facility, your people are supposed to undergo rapid testing, and only if they pass the rapid testing are they to allowed to enter the premises. If you do not pass rapid testing, you are going to be escorted to a quarantine facility by the Soler personnel. They'll take you in their vehicle, endorse you, and actually give you food packs. So that's great. Now, he told me, I was so happy with that arrangement, but then five of my people tested positive, so I had to send them all to quarantine and look for another five. But then when he got another five, they were all saying, "Oh, sir, kasi delikado, ganito, ganon, tatakot kami, ayaw ni Mrs." And he was saying, "Can I fire these people? I mean, Soler's done everything. I've done everything, and they're using it." Well, I said, "Look, they may be genuinely afraid, but what's your position with that? When people start using quarantine and COVID as an excuse."
Well, we have to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
There must be some compassion as well, no?
Mm-hmm.
Especially today, no? Um, that's understandable.
Yeah. Yeah, but what about the employer on the other hand? We also have to understand his
Most
situation.
yeah, no, no, I agree with you totally. I'm sure most of them, if they don't want to work, and you provided all the protocols for safety, then under the labor code, you can fire them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Businesses will have to survive, so that jobs will be protected as well.
Okay. Now, going back to the economy thing, 30% loss of remittances from OFWs. That's just what they
That's
calculated.
huge.
But
That's
that's only
huge.
what they calculated. That's not including the pay cuts that I've been picking up from many
Yep.
OFWs. Uh, how will that impact us? You just said that's huge. What will be the impact?
Oh, well, like I said, then there will be more unemployment,
Mm.
right? So today, the latest PSA data as of April was about 7.5 million. I expect more or less, hopefully not, I hope I'm wrong, that more or less about 10 million jobs will be affected all the way before the end of the year.
Okay. Now, do we have an alternative moving forward? Because everyone has already been saying that, look, you don't need the crystal ball. You can see that there is the nationalization of jobs abroad in the Middle East, etc. People beginning to, instead of having nannies, beginning to bring in their grandparents home because of economic considerations. Moving forward, what should the government or the Philippines be doing, because we're overly dependent on OFW and now we're paying the price?
We need our own version of a New Deal. So I
Okay.
favor a stimulus plan. So we need to spend ourselves out of this problem. You need to have an infrastructure plan, invest in the new future. Like I said, better healthcare services, repurpose our industries,
Can you give us
invest in agriculture.
yeah, can you give us specifics on that, Senator? Because when you talk, people listen, and maybe they'll pick up ideas. There are a lot of people who are reconsidering their current business, their current employment, and saying, "I want something else, something more reliable, even if it's smaller or simpler."
That's right. And provide liquidity to the system so that businesses have credit. Di ba?
Hmm. Okay.
That's an important part of having a business to begin with, right?
Mhm.
With low interest rates. No? So, like I said, we need to get people back to work. No? And the biggest balance sheet is the government to begin with. Okay?
Okay.
So, government must lead the way to begin with. Continue with their build program. Now we know that we need to invest more in health services.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a new industry as well. IT, we can fast track the development of our IT infrastructure together with the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
Government can make the investments together with the private sector. That's going to be very important moving forward. Uh, there will be many products that we will need locally, that we will have to manufacture locally as well. Everyone will be looking inward. Okay, I don't believe that you're going to be able to attract a lot of foreign investments in the next 2 years to begin with, because businessmen won't be able to fly. Okay,
Okay.
so let's be practical about that, no? So you have to look inward. There's also a disruption of the global supply chain.
Who should
So
who should spearhead that? Because uh, you and I,
basically, NEDA, yeah, NEDA will
Neda,
have to come out. Yeah, NEDA
I'm
will have to
sorry.
come out with a plan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. As you know, I teach. I used to teach at the Development Academy of the Philippines on communications, and every time I spot a student from NEDA, I give them hell, because I say, you are great at policies and statistics, but you are really so bad at communications. Now, this new deal, this new I like what I'm hearing. I think a lot of Filipinos like what they're hearing from you: agriculture, IT,
Construction.
education, health, construction. That's all good. But do we need the president to personally be the foreman, the chief engineer? Kasi parang if Duterte does not say so, nobody moves.
Yeah, you need to provide leadership.
Hmm.
You have to communicate it properly as well, right?
Okay. So
Uh,
what's your suggestion? Because we've gone full circle. The
no,
ideas
precisely
are
the
all
point.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
precisely the point. No, you need to have somewhat of a new deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Get people back to work. Shovel-ready projects. Huh? The cheapest
Mhm.
jobs to create would be in agriculture and in construction to begin with.
Mhm.
Okay, we
Okay.
cannot afford all social amelioration. The idea is to get people back to work too, okay, so that they
Okay.
can feed themselves and feed their families.
Go ahead.
There's no alternative. So we will have to spend more. We will have to borrow more and
Mhm.
make the necessary investments as well.
Okay.
And knowing that that will pay off 2, 3
Yeah.
years down the road with
Okay.
better connectivity. Yes,
Yeah. I'm going to
including
ask.
including
Yeah.
now.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I'm going to have to ask you the tough question.
sure.
Does the president have the right people to get this done? No, no judgment on his present team, but you're saying this is a new deal, a new normal, and a new way of doing things. The current team is okay with everything being normal, but with this whole new deal, uh, just in
I've yet
terms
to
of,
see. I've
huh?
yet to see a new deal from them.
Yeah.
We are proposing a new deal.
Okay.
So
Now,
we'd like them to come out with a new deal, with a plan.
okay, if you were called upon and say, and it's happened to you before. I mean, you've had to undertake unpleasant tasks and objectives. But if you were called upon, how would you go about it?
Well, first thing is we filed the bill in the Senate. No, many of our
Mm.
ideas are there already, as I mentioned to you earlier. No, I
Mhm.
think we can afford to borrow and to spend an additional 600 billion for a new deal to start
Okay.
with. Okay, so again, that's construction, that's agriculture, investment in health services to create confidence among consumers, among workers, among businessmen
But
that
is
we
that
are we get.
is that enough? Because if I remember, Secretary William Darr said just to undertake their new future in agriculture, they would need something like 300 billion. That's already half the cake.
No. His presentation to us was he was asking for about 60 billion between now until December.
Yeah, until
Additional
December.
spending. Yes,
Yeah.
60 billion. So what I'm talking about is just between now until the end of the year.
Oh, okay, okay. So, okay.
Okay. And by doing so, it will be faster for us to recover
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. Okay. So that, and like I said, no, again, wage subsidy, help businesses so that they don't fire their people as much as possible. So that's protecting jobs. For those who will lose their jobs, you have to stimulate them also, provide them some relief. That helps stimulate the economy and getting people back to work. Like
Mm-hmm.
I said, in agriculture, in construction, as an example, right?
Yeah, but
Repurposing in industries,
okay.
low interest rate loans. Interest rates are very low today, Sito.
Yeah.
As you very well know, during our time, interest rates what in the 80s was 30%,
Yeah.
right? Today, mababa ang interest rate, no? And possibly that even can go further down. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we can also subsidize certain interest rates with fiscal policy. We pay for the difference in the interest rate. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so there's many things that can be done. No?
Yeah, but what about the immediate needs of the Filipino? Every day I encounter people who are saying, "I couldn't pay the rent. I can't pay the rent."
That's
I
what the relief
et
was all
cetera, et cetera.
about.
Yeah,
Unemployment insurance.
yeah.
We need to provide more unemployment insurance. And what will that family do with the unemployment insurance? One, he'll use that to pay for food. He'll use that to pay for his bills. That way, you keep the economy turning. Okay? Can you imagine if those 10 million people and you don't provide any assistance, won't
Mm.
be able to feed themselves, won't be able to pay their bills? Okay? The utility company gets hit. We'll have to further lay off people, so on and so forth, right?
It
So if
becomes a
smart,
vicious cycle.
it becomes a vicious cycle, a
Mm.
downward spiral. That's
Okay,
what we're
now
saying. Yeah.
here's the concern, Senator. Okay, all the suggestions taken, very smart, very current. Question is, it's all dependent on when exactly are we going to be freed, and it's
That's
a
correct.
euphemism. Okay, when are we going to be freed from this quarantine, from this lockdown? I mean, in your have you guys in the Senate even sat down and said, ano ba talaga ang ginagawa? May plano ba? May target? Because I think that's common to us all. We're all asking the same question. What's the
Yeah,
plan?
yeah,
What's the schedule? What's
yeah.
our future?
Well, basically, we will have to live with the virus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we will have to live with it. We cannot do lockdowns like we did in the last few months. It's too costly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, too many people will lose their livelihoods, and that's also bad for public health.
Mm-hmm.
Not educating our children is bad also for public health in the long run, right? Okay,
Yeah.
now having said that, we will have to learn how to live with the virus. You'll have to open up the economy little by little,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and learn how to live with the virus. And then eventually you'll probably have bushfires, so to speak, no?
Yeah.
If there's an infection in this particular area, yun lang ila-lockdown mo, hindi yung buong Metro Manila or the entire of Luzon, no? So we're learning as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
It's a global thing. We're watching also. We're learning from others' experiences globally. There's history that teaches us also what happened before. Like during the Spanish flu, it only lasted for 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't think there was a vaccine, but it died.
It
Eventually,
died.
the virus died,
Yeah, it disappeared.
disappeared. Right. So that's also possible.
Same thing with SARS. Disappeared
Same thing
also.
with SARS. Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe a vaccine is created. So
Mm-hmm.
it's learning how to live with the virus.
Yeah, but I know that the executive department submits, I heard, daily reports to the Senate and
Weekly report.
weekly reports to the Senate and Congress, or Congress as a whole, regarding what they're doing. But is there a plan to call the executive department to maybe even a closed door session and find out exactly what they're going to do? Because what worries me, Senator, is now I know of people who are generally prudent, smart people, very cautious, but they have started to just go out. They've started to take trips, do their sneakies in the back doors, and I'm worried that if we don't loosen the grip as far as quarantine is concerned, we will eventually nonetheless end up with these problems. Is there an
Yes,
accounting being made and a questioning of logic and plan?
yes, yes. We had that. We had that in the Senate 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
Of
Okay.
course, it was in Zoom, right, or
Yeah.
Cyber, or in the Cisco WebEx.
Yeah. But
Yes.
what impressions did you get?
Well, well, we're not as happy as many others, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
we call them out too.
Yeah.
For example, yung mga hindi nababayaran yung mga health workers natin, frontliners who got sick, who died, so on and so forth. We call them
Mm-hmm.
out on that too,
Okay.
among others, no? So there's been a lot of discussion with the executive also on this, no?
Yeah.
And moving forward, we are suggesting also somewhat of a new deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving forward. Okay, we all realize we have to live with the virus. Okay, now we have to take care of the economy as well. Get people back to work. This is a matter of public health too. If people don't earn, how can they provide for the families? No? Their health
Yeah.
will get affected too.
Okay.
So
If
it's
you
lives
don't,
and livelihood. Yes,
yeah, if you don't end up with COVID, you might end up with mental health issues, so to speak.
that too.
In,
That's correct.
in any case, so when are you guys going back to the Senate, Senator Recto?
Yeah, session with the SONA will be on the fourth Monday of July. That will be
Okay.
SONA time already. But
Mm-hmm.
between now and then, we still have committee hearings. The chairman of
Okay.
the committees are allowed to conduct committee hearings, so I expect that there will be a lot of committee hearings between now until July.
Okay, just a quick question because a lot
Sure.
of the young kids are really annoyed, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories regarding what's happening on Facebook, where there's a massive cloning of accounts here in the Philippines, and it seems to be targeting the students and schools and people who spoke out against the anti-terror bill. Now, it seems the anti-terror bill has become divisive to the point where the DOJ is studying it, reviewing it, and the president has issued a statement that he's not going to sign it until he has carefully gone through the proposed bill or law. What's your sentiment on that?
Thank you for that question, Sito. Let me lend my thoughts on that as well. No? One is the Philippines is in the top 10 highest vulnerability to terrorism. We are
Mm-hmm.
in the Global Terrorism Index number 9. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I think we all agree that there is a need for an anti-terrorism bill. Okay. We've
Okay.
debated this in the Senate for 4 years. The way I look at it, reading the bill, there are adequate safeguards. Essentially, an anti-terror bill should be protecting our democracy, our liberty, and our freedoms. That's what it's
Mm-hmm.
all about. Because the terrorists are against our liberty, our freedom, and our democracy, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's what the terrorism bill is all about. Now, having said that, with that in mind, adequate safeguards are in place. Almost in all cases, in all turns, the three branches of government are involved. Okay? There is no one-man rule here in the anti-terror bill. The
Mm-hmm.
president is not even authorized to tell anyone to arrest anyone. Okay? There is
Mm-hmm.
a council created. It can only identify an organization, a group of people, an association, or individuals by way of court order. The most sensitive issue is how long can you, without a warrant of arrest anyone? The
Mm-hmm.
law talks about 14 days plus 10 days, so 24 days. That is the
Yeah.
most sensitive issue here. Now, with regard to that, the arresting officer, okay, needs to inform the court if he arrested anyone immediately, the court, the Human Rights Commission, uh, must provide a lawyer if the suspect doesn't have a lawyer, and eventually all of this they have to inform Congress. There's an oversight committee, so all the three branches of government are involved to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is no totalitarian. There is no single person. Everyone is accountable. The agent of the state, the uniformed personnel who will make the arrest, if he doesn't follow the protocols, he can go to jail for 10 years penalty.
Mm-hmm.
If he fabricates evidence, plus 6 years, so on and so forth. So, reading the bill, I think there are adequate safeguards. Now, with regard to those Facebook accounts that you're mentioning,
Yeah.
I did receive reports yesterday. I'm glad that the Privacy Commission has taken notice of it. The NBI will conduct an investigation. I think that should be investigated, and in a few days, we'll know who is
Okay.
responsible for all of this, and they should be held accountable.
Okay, well, I'll have to wrap it up here, and I have imposed so much on you this morning, Senator Recto. Thank you very much for
Thank
joining
you,
us. And
Sita.
please stay safe, healthy, and strong. God bless you.
God bless. God bless, Sita. Thank you for having me.
Okay, that's Senator Ralph Recto, and he is currently in Metro Manila, which is a good thing. He is not, I don't think he'll be able to get out of Metro Manila, so that makes us even. In any case, let's go for a quick break, and when we come back, more guests here on Agenda. You're back here on Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV, channels 8 and 250, as well as the Facebook platform of One News PH. Now, speaking of Facebook, here I have with me the front page stamp of the Philippine Star, and you'll see there the headline. The main headline is Government Probes Cloned Facebook accounts. Now, for those of you who are not into Facebook or who didn't get the newspaper today or have not opened your phones, your smartphones, etc., apparently since over the weekend, a lot of Facebook accounts have been cloned. Basically, accounts belonging to young people, students, and in general, if you were to believe what is being said or reported, many of those accounts were accounts of people who were critical or who spoke out against the anti-terror bill, or in one way or another were critical of the government or the Duterte administration, particularly who were participating in the Oust Duterte movement online. Now, the suspicion is these are trolls and people who were paid, hired to hack, hired to manufacture fake accounts to confuse things. Now, the possibility of a state sponsored cyber attack is very disturbing. I really don't know what to make of it. I don't know if it's factual. I would like to think that it is a small unit or outfit somewhere who is generating all of this electronically in some back rooms, etc. And the idea is to essentially put down any growing concern or movement against the anti-terror bill. Now, what's the problem here? The possibility, even if it's remote or nearly impossible, that we have a state-sponsored cyber attack is disturbing because it is the state that is supposed to uphold the law against cyber crimes. Now, let's not play coy here. Let's not play innocent. We know for a fact that during the last election and a year going into the Duterte administration, there were already talks about pro Duterte and anti Duterte trolls and the cyber fight. Now, you can say it's politics, but in a time of COVID, during COVID-19 pandemic, the last thing we need is for social media, Facebook, to be inundated, flooded by trolls, flooded by hackers, flooded by fake accounts, especially when we are all dependent on international postings regarding the pandemic, regarding COVID-19, the developments, the discoveries, and above all, the fake news. Believe it or not, social media has risen to a position or a stature of how shall we believability, if there is such a term, or respect, where people are turning to it for their information. Now, I'm worried. Number one, it should not be state sponsored, this cyber attack, because it just goes against government itself. At some point or another, these troll activities, these tactics, these communication strategies, they're simply just wicked. That's what I can call it. And if you want to know what I mean by wicked, go read the Bible. It's more than evil. It's more than bad. It's more than nasty. it is just really, at the core, just something really wicked. Why? Because we are already invading people's private accounts. We are already destroying the communications flow. We are just distorting everything, and at one point or another, we may reach that point when people just don't know what to believe anymore. In a pandemic, that's the last thing you want to see happen. In any case, this possibility of state-sponsored trolling is unacceptable. I'm not going to slam the government. I am not going to pass judgment on any administration. But whoever is behind this has to stop. Do not jeopardize, do not place at risk a platform that is so useful in communicating valuable information. Now, as far as the government, as far as the NBI, the Department of Justice, the PNP is concerned, now is the golden opportunity to show your integrity, your independence, and your ability to fight crime. Because regardless of who is behind all of this, it is a cybercrime. It is a massive cybercrime, and it is something that laughs at the face of law enforcement. These people are so convinced they can get away with it, and that is why many suspect it is state sponsored. Because here in the Philippines, we have seen in the last 2 months how the NBI clamped down, shut down, went after, subpoenaed, invited certain individuals for merely making a statement that was contrary to the administration. Yes, on 2 or 3 occasions, some people who were really reckless even made threats at the person of the president. And hey, that they deserve being arrested by the NBI. But in many cases, just mere statements on Facebook and social media have earned some people a subpoena. What happened over the weekend is not just someone posting something stupid or irresponsible on Facebook. What happened over the weekend is an attack, not just on students, not just on people who are against the terrorism bill, anti-terrorism bill. It is an attack on the people itself. If that could happen, what is to stop anyone from doing what's happened in other countries, basically taking away our platforms for communication, etc. So we are really hoping that the NBI, the PNP Cybercrime Unit, the Department of Justice, and the Privacy Commission will come up with results. Let's all put an end to this. Let's all put a stop to this. And if you're getting paid to do this sort of work, or you think you're being patriotic by doing this sort of work, please think about it. Because one day, what you do to others could happen to you. What you are doing to others can be done unto you, as the Bible says or teaches us. And what then? What then if it's your account that's being hacked? What then if it's your liberty that is being deprived? We can all say we are red, yellow, pink, blue, or white. But at the end of the day, ultimately we will pay for we will pay the consequences of our actions. So we condemn this trolling, this hacking, this cybercrime against the Filipino people, particularly against the students. Now, in my column this morning, I wrote an article. Regarding the police action in BGC, but I'll talk about that in a while. For the meantime, I would like to interview a friend who I've seen uh, who I saw last year, but not this year, definitely, and someone who has had his hands full ever since this COVID-19 pandemic happened. Let's talk to the mayor of Ormoc City, our friend Richard Gomez. Richard, good morning to you.
Hi, Sito. Good morning. It's nice to see you here on my cell phone. It's a totally different setup nowadays, no?
Yeah. Anyway, you are one of the most vocal, most visible, and most active mayors in media, on media since the pandemic hit. Now, what is the situation in Ormoc?
The situation here is that we've prepared Ormoc City, no? And actually, even before the president announced that he wanted the OFWs to come back to their own provinces, we were
Mhm.
ready. In
Okay.
fact, we early on we asked permission from the National Housing Authority if we can use their units, no? Kasi meron silang mga bagong units na that hasn't been turned over yet. So that was
Mhm.
one area na pwede namin ilagay yung mga repatriates. We call them repatriates para all of them na yung mga gusto umuwi. And the NJ housing here in Ormoc, we have about 700 units. So we prepared all of that.
Okay.
And we were ready to accept mga OFWs or yung mga gusto magbalik probinsya. So we did all the steps, all the protocols that needs to be done in case they want to come in. What are the simple protocols to inform us that they want to come? In fact, we came out with an online application form even
Mm.
before the president announced the OFW balik probinsya. So we received about over 1,000 applicants na gustong umuwi dito. So we told them, bago kayo umuwi, fill up the application form, and before you enter the border, dapat meron kayong at least rapid testing, and then as you enter Ormoc City, you will be escorted to the NHA housing facility and you will be quarantined for 14 days. Those are the simple requirements na hiningi namin.
Okay.
So we were
Mhm.
able to keep Ormoc COVID-free for over 80 days.
Okay, that's 1,000 returnees on the Balik Probinsya program, which means that that's 1,000 employees that's no longer working in Metro Manila. Uh,
Very true.
how are you going to absorb them? What would be the impact of those job losses and income losses to Ormoc City?
It's actually going to be very difficult now, considering that the people living here on a regular day-to-day basis, not all of the 100% people working here in Ormoc City have jobs. So
Mhm.
yung balik probinsya, and it's really going to affect the people. I mean, those who were going to come back, siguro those will be able to get work are most likely those na nakatapos ng TESDA, those who have job experiences, but nothing is sure. No, we're not sure if they'll be able to get jobs here in Metro Manila, considering most of them are coming from different countries, mga OFWs.
Now,
You know, the first
go
reason
ahead.
why they left the Philippines, the reason why they left the Philippines is to look for jobs because walang available dito para sa kanila. So now that
Mhm.
they're coming home, um, we're just opening up businesses in Ormoc. Hopefully na dito sa Ormoc, they'll be able to either start up their own business or they'll be able to apply for jobs.
Well,
But nothing is really certain.
yeah, between you and Congresswoman Lucy, I know the couple are you're a couple of multi talents and creativity. Now, what alternatives or what possibilities are there in Ormoc? Because I just spoke with Senator Ralph Recto. I've been talking to Governor Art Yap last
Mhm.
week, and the idea, I think that the common idea is to push for investments in the provinces, development in the provinces. Ormoc, you are just a ferry away from Cebu. You have your own airport. Now, are you in a position to to make offers to businessmen, and what sort of businesses could they invest in Ormoc for job creations in your city?
Well, Ormoc is an open city. No, we accept and offer the city for businesses. Pero alam
Mhm.
mo, madali kasi mag-cheap talk na, sige, pasok niyo investment dito, mag-invest kayo dito. or let's say mga Filipinos coming from abroad, madali lang sila gumawa ng it's easy to say that, but
Yeah.
in actuality, it's not that easy. Number one, if you really want them to invest here, mga OFWs, I mean, how much money do they have? Will they be able to borrow money from the banks? Things like that. But in terms of, is Ormoc open? Yes, we are open. In fact, we have industrial zones in our land use plan that's available for businesses to come in. And with regards to safety and peace and order, Ormoc City is one of the safest cities in the Philippines. That's why peace and order for me is number one. That way, we'll be able to invite tourists and investors to come in Ormoc City. Importante talaga yun eh.
Now you mentioned that yung mga nakapag-training sa TESDA, siguro yun yung may mga opportunities. Now,
Yes.
does that mean that there is a need for more investments by TESDA in your area?
There are a lot of TESDA accredited schools and workshops in Ormoc City. What is really important are job placements, kung saan nila pwedeng gamitin yung pinag-aralan nila sa TESDA, no? Like for example, arc welding, yung mga advanced techniques in welding, or fiber optic fusion technicians. These are the things that we offer in Ormoc. In fact, na yung fiber optic fusion, no? That's the only fiber optic school that we have in the Philippines, and we are offering it here in Ormoc City. So yun yung mga madali na mga opportunities na pwede ka lang kunin, because the whole country is trying to convert from copper cable to fiber optic. So
Fiber optic,
fiber optic. So with that, at least mas maraming pwedeng kumuha niya, maraming opportunity na pwedeng mapasukan sila.
Okay, now what are your priorities or your concerns? Final question ko na lang siguro, because I know marami ring tiga-Ormoc na nag-succeed na dito sa Metro Manila and abroad, and maybe some of them are thinking, I don't want to spend 3 more months in lockdown in Manila. Babalik na rin ako sa Ormoc. Ano yung mga dapat nilang malaman, and what are your priorities?
Number one, dapat nila malaman, not a lot of jobs are really, the truth is, not a lot of jobs are being offered in the different cities and the different provinces in the country. No,
Okay.
again, I'll say this, na the reason why there are a lot of OFWs outside the Philippines is because mas maraming jobs na available doon kesa dito sa provinces. No, and there are, let's face it, there are more jobs available in Metro Manila. That's right. Lahat ng tao doon nagko-convert sa Manila. There are about 11 million people in Metro Manila. And although there are jobs available in the provinces, like for example Ormoc, but to accommodate instantly about 1,000 to 2,000 people coming back because of the pandemic is not that easy for LCs, for local chief executives like us. No? But we're trying to find means and ways on how to accommodate them, at least to make them work for the next 3 months, no, through job placements from government agencies or from the city hall. Kailangan gagawin mo ng paraan, problem solving ng konti.
Stable naman ang power supply, etc., logistics and utilities sa Ormoc in case they want to invest in Ormoc or put up companies or businesses in Ormoc.
Yes, definitely. We host one of the biggest geothermal power plant in Asia. It is situated right here in Ormoc City. So we generate about 700 megawatts of power. So lahat ng power na kailangan nila to run their industry, kaya natin yan. And the only copper smelting plant in the country is also situated in the district. So at least for big manufacturers for copper, nandito sa district and sa Ormoc. We can handle that.
Including telecommunications.
Telecommunications, not really. Well, we have PLDT and Smart dito, pero in terms of putting up BPO, kaya na. Kung BPO kaya. And then agriculture, of course, is number one in Ormoc City.
Okay, well, at least I think that last statement of yours makes a big difference. There's power, there's water, there's telecommunications and logistics. So anyone who is brave enough, bold enough, and patriotic enough to go to Ormoc can make a difference. Thank you very
Yes.
much, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Tito, and more power to you. God bless.
Okay, please stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy. God bless you, Mayor Richard Gomez, Ormoc City. Okay, that's Mayor Richard Gomez. And for those of you who are from Ormoc, this might be after the GCQ and we are all allowed to travel and it's safe to travel. It might be worth your while to consider investing in Ormoc. I've been there at least once or twice. I can't remember anymore. But when I traveled with BMEG as a endorser, and it's a good place. They have a lot of potential, and now would be a good time to start up there before everybody else beats you to the punch. In any case, let's go to our unscheduled guest. We have with us the chairman of the Philippine Privacy Commission, and we will call in Chairman Raymond Liboro. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sito, and let me greet you for your successful show. But particularly, I'd like to greet you for that very poignant introduction you made earlier about this issue, which really touches on, doing no harm to others, and really, privacy is all about the golden rule: don't do unto others what you don't want to be done unto you. Thank you for
Yeah,
that introduction.
thank you for that, Chairman. I hope I'm giving you the right title, Chairman, right?
Yeah, well,
Uh,
yes.
yeah, of the commission. Okay, now, Chairman Liboro, this is a serious matter. This hacking of accounts on a massive scale is a serious matter because, first of all, the government is now suspect as being behind a state-sponsored trolling of accounts. It's a serious matter because right now, all of this is putting at jeopardy our ability to communicate and exchange information regarding COVID-19. Now, what is your commission going to do about it?
Well, yes, it's a serious matter. It actually strikes at the very core of what what we've been promoting all along. That trust is very important in this new normal that we are all working in and living in. So immediately yesterday, when there were reports about the proliferation of so-called imposter account, I immediately got in touch with the Facebook representative who's focusing on the Philippines and brought this to their attention. Then I understood that they were also already looking into this because of the numerous reports that are coming in. So, Tito, but these investigations take a little time, but we are
Mhm.
awaiting updates about this matter. And I really thought that Facebook is, yes, they're taking this very seriously. We would really like to know the extent and depth of this activity. I was asking them earlier if this has been, something that has been common. We know that imposter accounts, dummy accounts, and even cloning is, one of the regular risks or threats that we encounter in Facebook. But
Mhm.
is there a systematic effort on this one? These matters are still to be determined, Sito.
Okay, now are you planning to call for a conference, etc., with the PNP and BI? Because I understand the DOJ Secretary Minardo Guevara has already sent out instructions to investigate this matter.
Yes, that is very relevant, these developments, Sito, because this only shows to prove and also prove to our people that we have the mechanisms in place, we have the enabling laws in place, and there are agencies right now who can actually respond to this. You have
Mm.
the DOJ and the Cyber Office of Cybercrime. You even have the PNP Cybercrime. You even have the DICT and of course the National Privacy Commission. So in areas of how this matter would develop, there will be certain agencies that would have a particular forte on certain developments. Now, for example, like if this elevates to actual threats and actual harm being perpetrated by using their accounts, then this really becomes instantly elevated as a cybercrime.
Okay,
And
now,
we will be, yes, coordinating with the DOJ on that.
is there any risk or danger that we could be placed on some sort of watch list, on a negative standing as far as the international community or Facebook is concerned, because of our ability or inability to act on this decisively?
No, Sito, the matter of using the platform itself for nefarious activities or even terrorism is a global concern.
Hmm.
It's also a global concern of Facebook themselves.
Yeah.
So that is why, in the development of Facebook in recent memory, they have already instituted certain measures, for example, to prevent the platform from being used to foment terrorism or foment or to incite people into doing things that are against the law. So, in fact, the platform has been used so many times, even live staging of terrorist
Yeah.
activities, right? And they have actually put, assembled their technical expertise towards mitigating those instances. For example, using artificial intelligence to detect and even actually, to detect terrorist activities even in the onset. So, I'm saying this because again, this is a global concern, and that is why when this issue came out uh, uh, yesterday, beginning yesterday, I knew that that the way Facebook will respond to this issue is really a global. It will be a global response on their part, and I was right because they confirmed that even their offices in Dublin, where the servers are housed, are now involved in looking into this. And that's why it's very important, Sito, that for all those who were victimized by this unauthorized activity or that broke the community standards of Facebook, must report this immediately. It is very important for them to document this. So why? Because so that they can immediately take it down. But more importantly, for them to be able to trace where all this came from. And that is, I think this is, in the end, I think Facebook will succeed in being able to track where all this came from.
Well, apparently, from what I've gathered, this all started when Facebook started taking down fake accounts, or accounts that were political, or not acceptable to community standards, and they turned out to be trolls, and those trolls went and their form of revenge on Facebook was to basically come up with massive fake accounts. Now, what can netizens do? We have a question here. What has been the well? What can netizens do to? What can they do while you guys are going through the investigation? And what has been the feedback of Facebook as far as your plans are concerned?
Okay, thank you for that, Sito, again. Let me state two ways or two options now for netizens. First, if you were again a victim of an imposter account or a dummy account, or if your account are cloned, again, there are features within Facebook for you to immediately report this so that they can take action. And I thought that Facebook is really hard on impersonation. It really undermines the very core of their business model and also their values as they.
Mhm.
So you will have really an ally within Facebook on that. Secondly, really the longer view here is that for everyone to really shore up our own security and privacy defenses in entering, enrolling in Facebook and also in maintaining our accounts. The privacy settings have been actually souped up with so many features that they can use. For example, choosing your making your friend list really private and even determining who actually reads your post. So if I were you, if, your audience, if you're not a celebrity like Cito Beltran, probably you can just opt for your friends list, for them to see your post and not go public. Because again, that's a whole way of difference if you put your post on public, where everyone can see it, vis-a-vis your just friends group. So there are privacy settings that you can use to add on and protect yourselves during this time.
Okay, now going back to the Privacy Commission, I'm an optimist, I think, deep down, and I would like to think that all of this has highlighted the importance of the Privacy Commission. Now, the question is, are you sufficiently funded and sufficiently staffed so that you are able to undertake a deep investigation, such as into cases such as this, pursue the legal action, etc.? Do you even have the power to file charges, or do you endorse this to the law enforcement units?
Yeah. Well, good that you asked that, Cito. But still, like, the National Privacy Commission is quite a nascent organization. Where one of the Benjamins in the government, having been organized only 2016. But having said that, I guess, again, the good news is that we have the enabling law under the Data Privacy Act, and we have other laws. I could say could be allied laws in terms of dealing with this new phenomenon, new or 21st century risks, threats, and harms. And so far, again, as we establish the organization, even our offices, we are not yet fully staffed yet, Cito, not because that we don't have the positions available, but really, again, even recruiting the right persons to a very young organization and competing against other agencies that probably could offer a higher pay scale for lawyers, for example. So we're also competing in the market. But nevertheless, we try our best now to really support our mandate. We have plans of expanding our offices, our physical offices, to Cebu and Davao. And definitely, I think this is also where working together with other agencies will be helpful, again, in expanding the front lines against cybercrime. And we intend to work more closely with the other organizations as the time progresses, specifically the DOJ and even the PNP.
Well,
So I think we're trying to expand widen the front lines in our
okay,
fight.
well, at this juncture, we'll have to close the show, and we've gone extremely over time. But I really thank you for joining us in an unscheduled interview, because we are very concerned with this recent developments and its long-term consequence.
Yeah.
Anyway, Commissioner, thank you very much for your response, for your presence, and we wish you all the divine grace, favor,
Thank you.
and support, so that we can put a stop to this, regardless of the political colors. Please stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy, and God bless you.
Thank you, Cito.
Okay, that's Commissioner Raymond Liboro of the Philippine Privacy Commission. And that's it for us today. Thank you for joining us. And again, may I remind you, please don't forget to pray. Pray for your friends, pray for your family, pray for our national and local leaders. And also, don't be afraid, don't be embarrassed to ask God for help, for favor. And I hope you have a great week ahead of you, and we've had a good day. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Cito Beltran, and that's Agenda.